last two elections really had a huge benefit from the youthful voter. How do you appeal and get the hearts and minds of a youthful voter during this election?
Honesty. I really believe that's the key. I mean, look, I'm not going to appeal to young voters on the positions on many of the moral or cultural issues. But if you stand up and you honestly say, here's why I believe what I believe, and you lay out what I just laid out, for example, about why the family is so important, I think, I can tell you my experience as young people, now I'm talking about young college kids, that's mostly what I interact with at that age. But I'm amazed at how tuned in they are at a lot of these issues. You know, I was at Penn State, this is my alma mater, and I remember meeting with this is back in 2005, 2006, and I was meeting with the editorial board of the collegiate paper, which is horrible, left-wing, crazy. You know, they write nasty things about me all the time. But I met with them, and so we had this discussion. We were disagreeing on pretty much everything. And I finally said, okay, guys, all right, you tell me, what do you think the biggest problem is in America today? 2006. Some kid in the back of the room raised his hand. He says, the breakdown of the American family. And I paused and said, anybody disagree with that? Not a hand went up. Why? Because they lived through it. They see it. They know it. So, look, kids want to be all these things, and they want to be out for the fashionable thing. And of course, the last thing they want to do is judge anybody. Millennials don't want to judge anything or anybody. And so I get all that. And so they look at someone and say, oh, he's saying this is wrong, and this is... But if you take the time to respect them enough to explain why you believe what you believe. I use the example of when I spoke at Yale in 2012. And I was asked to come and speak at the Yale Political Union on the subject of, there's a debate. It was resolved, the government is destroying the American family. They called me and asked me, they actually paid me to go to Yale and speak on government destroying the American family at the Yale Political Union. I showed up there, and how many Yale students do you think showed up to hear Rick Santorum talk about government destroying the American family? 2,000. Largest crowd in the history of the Yale Political Union. And they sat there for 45 minutes as I laid out, okay, let's define our terms. What is the family? What is marriage? What is the purpose of marriage and the family? What is the impact of marriage and family on society? What is the state of marriage and family in America today? What's the impact on children in the state of marriage and family? What role did the government play in affecting marriage and the family? So I went through the whole thing. All the statistics, all the numbers, stories. Afterwards, I stuck around for an hour and a half. Kids wanted to talk to me. And the most common comment I got from all these kids, and they all had their rainbow lapel buttons on. They were all loaded for bear. And they all came up to me and said the same thing. What do you think they said?
Nobody ever told me that.
I've never heard that before. We're losing the arguments because we're not making them, because we're afraid to make them, because we don't want to be looked like that we're somehow, old-fashioned or out of touch. And these kids hunger for the truth because they've grown up with lies. They've grown up through the broken families. They've grown up, particularly a lot of these kids in neighborhoods where there are no dads. They know the devastation, and we don't have the courage to talk about it because we don't want to look like we're, somehow judging people in what they've done. That has nothing, it's not judging anybody. It's trying to lift people up to do something that's better for everybody. And so I would make the argument that young people, maybe more than any other, are looking for someone in a political environment that they trust. You may not agree with me on anything, but I think people know that I say what I believe and I'm going to do what I say. And I've done it for 20 years. Got a pretty good track record of it for 20 years. The word flip-flop has never been associated with my name. Never. Ever. On anything.